Believe it or not, there is a moment in Marvel history when Bullseye, the assassin who never misses his target, the man who killed Elektra, who stabbed Karen Page through the heart, who drove Daredevil insane, was taken down with just one punch, a single punch. And the one who delivered it was not Thor, not Hulk, not Sentry. It was Ben Grimm, the Thing, the Rock Man of the Fantastic Four. Today we are going to explore this insane moment together when Bullseye, the most overconfident man in the Marvel Universe, decided to confront the Thing in a situation where every single one of his senses was screaming at him. You are making the biggest mistake of your life. And the most brilliant part is, he knew it. He knew full well he was going to lose, but he lunged in anyway. To understand the madness of this moment, we need to rewind time a little. The backdrop takes place during Secret Invasion, the event in which the Skrulls infiltrated Earth by impersonating superheroes and people in power. In Fantastic Four issue #2 of the Mark Millar and Bryan Hitch run, everything was in absolute chaos. A group of super Skrull warriors, individuals genetically modified to possess the powers of multiple superheroes at once, had attacked the Baxter Building, the Fantastic Four's headquarters. These were no ordinary Skrulls. Each one of them was a combination of 3 to 4 different superpowers, specifically designed to counter each member of the Fantastic Four. This is an important detail we need to bear in mind. The Skrulls had studied the Fantastic Four for decades. They knew each person's weaknesses. They knew how to defeat Mr. Fantastic by scrambling his genius intellect. They knew how to neutralize the Human Torch with heat absorption and vacuum creation. They knew how to deal with the Invisible Woman by penetrating her force fields, and they thought they knew how to take down the Thing. But there was one problem, a very big problem. They never truly understood Ben Grimm, and that is exactly when Bullseye entered the scene. At this point, Bullseye was not the usual Bullseye we know. After the Civil War event, he had been recruited into the Thunderbolts under Norman Osborn's command. Osborn, at that time, on his way to becoming the Golden Face of America, dispatched the Thunderbolts to join the campaign against the Skrull invasion. And in a development that could only happen in comic books, the Thunderbolts were assigned to coordinate with the Fantastic Four, the very people they would normally consider enemies. Let us pause for a moment to absorb the sheer absurdity of this situation. Bullseye, a psychopath who had killed people just for fun, was standing in the Baxter Building, fighting alongside Mr. Fantastic and the Thing. This was not a team-up anyone expected. This was the kind of crossover that makes you wonder, can Bullseye go at least 5 minutes without killing his own teammates? And the answer, surprisingly, was yes. But not because he had a conscience, because he had another objective in mind. While the Fantastic Four and the Thunderbolts were battling the army of Super Skrull warriors, Bullseye noticed something. Not about the Skrulls, not about the battle, but about the Thing. Bullseye had been observing Ben Grimm throughout the fight. He watched the way the Thing tore through Skrulls like paper. He watched the way Ben's punches shook the entire building. He watched the way the creatures designed to kill the Fantastic Four crumpled like broken dolls before Ben's strength. And instead of feeling fear, Bullseye felt exhilarated. We need to understand Bullseye's psychology at this moment. This is a man whose entire life is defined by accuracy. He does not need strength. He does not need speed. He just needs to throw anything, a pen, a playing card, a tooth, and it will hit its target. That is his ability. That is his curse. That is the only thing that makes him feel alive. But there is a paradox in Bullseye's mind that few people mention. He hates ease. He hates that every target is too simple. He has killed people with toothpicks. He has killed people with paper. He has killed people with his own fingernails. And after all of that, he felt empty. Because when you are the best in the world at something, you begin to crave a challenge, to crave something that forces you to truly try. And the Thing was exactly that challenge. Not because Ben Grimm is a difficult target to hit. In truth, Ben is large, slower than many other superheroes, and Bullseye could hit him from 3 blocks away without even looking. But because Ben Grimm is a target that cannot be hurt by the things Bullseye throws. Ben's skin is rock, hard orange rock, tougher than diamond, that has withstood Hulk's punches and still gotten back up. What could Bullseye possibly throw at Ben? A knife? It would snap. A bullet? It would flatten like a coin under a truck tire. A pencil? It would shatter into dust. That very impossibility ignited a fire inside Bullseye. He began to think, is there anything I can throw that could pierce the thing's rocky hide? Is there a weak spot? Is there a crack? And in his head, an insane thought began to take shape. a thought that could only come from someone who is both a genius and a psychopath. This is where we need to talk about the nature of Bullseye. In many comic runs, especially Frank Millar's and Kevin Smith's Daredevil runs, Bullseye is portrayed not merely as an assassin. He is an obsessive. He is driven by a need to prove that he is number one, that no one, absolutely no one, can rival him in accuracy. He once killed a woman simply because she dared say Hawkeye was better with a bow than he was with throwing. That is the level of fragility of Bullseye's ego. One comment, one small comparison, and he will kill you. And now, in his mind, taking down the Thing was no longer about the mission. It was about his own twisted sense of honor. If he could find a way to hurt a being considered invulnerable, then no one on Earth could ever doubt his top position again. Not Hawkeye, not Deadshot, not anyone. The decisive moment happened when Bullseye saw a super Skrull warrior grappling with the Thing. This Skrull was one of the strongest creations of the invasion. It possessed the strength of Colossus, the speed of Quicksilver, and the invisibility of the Invisible Woman. A terrifying combination. And it was putting all its power into punching the Thing in the face. Ben Grimm gritted his teeth, his rocky muscles tensed, and then, with a roar that echoed throughout the building, he punched back. One punch. The Super Skrull warrior, a creature designed to kill the Fantastic Four, flew backward through 3 walls, crashed through reinforced glass, and fell onto the streets of Manhattan below like a meteor. It did not get up. It was never getting up again. Bullseye stood there, jaw agape beneath his mask. He had just witnessed a creature with the strength of Colossus get taken down like a child, and his reaction was not fear, it was not awe, it was envy, insane envy. Because the Thing had just done what Bullseye could never do, end a fight with pure, absolute brute strength. He wanted that feeling. He wanted to know what it felt like to punch something so hard that it shattered under his fist. And he wanted to prove that he too could take down something that could not be taken down. This was the turning point. Bullseye was no longer fighting for the mission, he was fighting for his ego. And Bullseye's ego, as we all know, is the most dangerous thing of all. The moment that 4,000 years of human civilization and decades of storytelling all led to. The battle with the Skrulls was nearly over. The Fantastic Four and the Thunderbolts had repelled most of the invaders. The remaining Skrulls were retreating. Everyone began to breathe a sigh of relief. Mr. Fantastic was assessing the damage. The Human Torch was extinguishing the last fires. The Invisible Woman was ensuring no enemies remained hidden. And that was when Bullseye made his move. He turned to the Thing. No warning, no declaration, no threat. Just a movement. Swift, precise, and lethal. Bullseye threw something at the Thing's face. What was it? No one knows for sure. Some fans speculate it was a sharp piece of rock from the rubble. Others think it was a shard of metal from Skrull armor. Some even say it was a pencil Bullseye picked up from Reed Richards' desk. But in truth, it does not matter. Because no matter what Bullseye threw, the result was only one. The object flew through the air with a speed and accuracy that only Bullseye could achieve. It aimed straight for the Thing's right eye, the only weak point on Ben Grimm's rock body. Because no matter how hard Ben's skin is, his eyes are still eyes, and Bullseye knew that. He always knew. But here is what Bullseye did not count on. The Thing had fought alongside Captain America in World War II. He had faced Dr. Doom hundreds of times. He had stood before Galactus and did not back down. He had been to outer space, down to hell, and back again. He had seen every tactic, every trick, every dirty move in the book. And he had learned one thing. When someone tries to attack your eye, you do not need to dodge. You just need to punch them first. That moment happened in less than a second. Bullseye had just released the object from his hand. His fingers were still in the throwing position. His eyes were still tracking the object's flight path. He had already envisioned the scene, the Thing screaming in pain, hand clutching his eye, and he, Bullseye, would be the first one to ever do it. He would be a legend. But instead of the Thing's scream, what Bullseye heard was a completely different sound. It was the sound of Ben Grimm's rocky fist tearing through the air. A deep, dull sound, like thunder trapped in a small room. A sound signaling that a terrible force was about to collide with something that could not possibly endure it. The Thing did not even bother to dodge the object Bullseye threw. He let it come. Because he knew, and this is the difference between a true superhero and a psychopath like Bullseye, he knew that the best way to stop an attack is not to defend, but to attack first. And Bullseye, with all his accuracy and speed, had just made the biggest mistake of his life. He had stood too close. The Thing's punch came like a freight train. More precisely, like 10 freight trains combined. Bullseye saw it. He had the reflexes of a super soldier. He could dodge bullets. He could catch arrows in midair. But he could not dodge this, not because it was too fast, although it was terrifyingly fast, but because it was too big. The thing's fist was the size of Bullseye's entire face. When you are standing within a 5-foot radius of a fist like that, there is nowhere to dodge. There is no angle to escape. There is only acceptance. And then, the punch connected. Let us take a moment to truly feel this moment. Imagine you are Bullseye, the man who never lost, the man who was always accurate, the man who was always in control. And in this moment, everything you believed about yourself shatters. You are not in control. You are not accurate. You are not number one. You are just a madman who just tried to punch a mountain, and the mountain punched back. Bullseye's jaw shattered like glass. No, not like glass. Glass is harder than that. Bullseye's jaw shattered like a cookie under a tank tread. His teeth, the teeth that grinned when he killed Elektra, the teeth that clenched when he faced Daredevil, flew around inside his mouth like broken pebbles. Blood sprayed from his nose, from his mouth, from his ears. His cheekbones split in two. His skull rang like a bell struck by a sledgehammer. Bullseye did not have time to scream. He did not even have time to realize he had been hit, because a millisecond after the thing's fist touched his face, Bullseye's consciousness left his body. Lights out, screen black, game over. Bullseye's body flew backward like a ripped rag doll. It shot through the air at a speed no Olympic athlete could ever achieve. It smashed into a wall of the Baxter building, a wall reinforced to withstand supervillain attacks. And that wall cracked, not because Bullseye was hard, but because the thing's punch was so powerful that even Bullseye's body became a bullet. He slid down to the floor like a wet sack of potatoes. No movement, no sound, nothing. The thing stood there, looking down at the unconscious corpse of Bullseye. He did not smile. He was not proud. He just exhaled, shook his head, and said, "That's for trying to poke my eye, you jerk." That was all. No grand speech, no philosophy. Just the thing, as down to earth as he has always been, handling a problem in the simplest way possible. About the nature of violence, and about the difference between a superhero and a psychopath. First, let us talk about Bullseye. Why did he do it? He is a tactical genius. He knew how strong the thing was. He knew he stood no chance. He knew that even if he succeeded in blinding the thing, an extremely low probability scenario, the thing could still crush him like a bug. So why? The answer lies in the nature of Bullseye. He does not fight for survival, not for ideals, not for anything meaningful. He fights for his ego. And his ego, like a fire that never goes out, always demands to be fed with new feats, new challenges, new impossibilities. Bullseye had reached the peak of human capability. He could kill anyone, anywhere, with anything. But when you are at the top, you start to realize that the peak is very lonely. No more challenges, no more rivals, nothing left to prove. And that drove Bullseye insane. He needed a new challenge, an impossible challenge. And the thing, with his impenetrable rock body, was exactly that challenge. Why was his punch so satisfying? It is not just about the strength, it is about the contrast. Bullseye is the embodiment of precision, of sophistication, of calculation. He is an artist of death, turning every throw into a work of art. The thing is the opposite. He is the embodiment of brute force, of simplicity, of the philosophy, if it does not break, punch harder. And in that moment, simplicity defeated sophistication. Brute strength defeated insane precision. It is a reminder that, in the Marvel universe, no matter how smart you are, how precise you are, how talented you are, there are still things you cannot overcome. One of them is the thing's fist. Ben is not someone who enjoys violence. He does not seek out fights. He does not want to hurt others. But when someone threatens him, his friends, or his family, Ben will not hesitate to end things quickly and decisively. His line after the punch, "That's for trying to poke my eye, you jerk," is not a threat, not a grand declaration, but simply Ben Grimm confirming the reason why Bullseye just got punched. Nothing more, nothing less. And that is exactly why fans love Ben Grimm. He does not need to act cool. He does not need sharp one-liners like Spider-Man or inspiring speeches like Captain America. He is just himself, a guy from the Lower East Side of New York who was turned into a rock monster but still kept his heart of gold. And sometimes that heart of gold shows itself through a punch to a bad guy's face. So we have gone through this entire legendary moment together. Now, I want to hear your opinions. Do you think Bullseye truly believed he had a chance? Or was this just an act of suicide by ego? Please comment down below. I genuinely want to read all of your thoughts. And do not forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more in-depth analyses of insane moments like this one. As always, thank you for joining me. This is Rob, and I will see you in the next video. And never try to poke the thing in the eye. Seriously, do not do it.